Lucis Trust, a non-profit, non-political, and non-sectarian organization on the roster of the Economic and Social Council of the United Nations and concerned with the establishment of world cooperation and goodwill, presents Inner Sight with your host, Robert Anderson. He, with Sarah and Dale McKechnie, President and Vice President of Lucis Trust, will discuss philosophical and spiritual topics essential to everyday life. Now here's your host, Robert Anderson.
Welcome. Inner sight is simply seeing that which is always present, but not yet fully recognized. You have, within you, the ability to see yourself and the world around you in a new way with new eyes. So, stay with us and together we'll look at the world and ourselves with inner sight. Our topic for today, reincarnation. And before we explore this topic, I'd like to say a few words about Alice Bailey, founder of the Lucis Trust. Lucis Trust sponsors this show. Alice Bailey wrote 24 books of esoteric philosophy, and those 24 books are the main inspiration for the dialogue that you hear on this show. The following thought is from the works of Alice Bailey. The new psychology must be built upon the premise that this one life is not an individual's sole opportunity to achieve integration and eventual perfection. When the great law of rebirth is accepted, it will be found to be a major releasing agent in any moment of crisis or any psychological problem. What does Alice Bailey mean that reincarnation is a major releasing agent?
It's kind of mysterious, isn't it, to put it in those terms. I suppose each of us might interpret that a little differently. To me, it suggests a freeing up of the imagination to see the purpose behind a crisis or a problem that we're wrestling with. If you think of reincarnation as the continuity of life from one incarnation, one personality, one body, one set of circumstances to another over a vast period of time, I think it opens up a sense of possibilities that if you don't master something in the here and now, you have another chance later. If you don't resolve something now, there will be opportunities in the future. It also suggests that you do eventually have to face a problem, and you do have to confront a crisis and not run away from it, because obviously if life is ongoing, these crises and problems are there for us because we've created these puzzles, and they're for us to unknot, to solve.
And to solve as soon as one can, because that same law, the law of rebirth that allows us to, or impedes us, makes us come back life after life, also tends to become an excuse to not to do anything.
Yes.
Say, well, I'll leave it for my next life to take care of.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that may be part of the problem in the Orient.
Mm-hmm.
They have known about this law of rebirth for centuries, and and it may tend to be a little kind of soporific.
Yeah, it can induce a kind of passivity, I suppose, in certain temperaments, that it's my fate, I have been dealt a bad deck of cards, there's nothing I can do about it, I'll just allow life to unfold because it's all ordained by higher authorities and I have no say. To me, that's not a very creative view of life at all. On the other hand, I've never understood why the idea of reincarnation would give somebody the idea that they could put things off till tomorrow. I guess I'm not a very good postponer. There are certain temperaments, maybe mine's one of them, that realizes if you have to eventually take care of something, attend to something, why not do it now and get it over with? I always have thought dessert coming at the end of the meal is very sensible, because you have to eat your way through the things you don't especially like, and then you get the treat. So why postpone something that has to be resolved? Anyway, there is that rather passive element. On the other hand, it's also a very creative view of life, a creative approach to crises and problems.
Yes, if it's understood that way, that it allows one to, gives one time to really work at the redemptive process, the perfecting process, and it all doesn't have to be accomplished in one lifetime. It's impossible to accomplish it all in one lifetime. There is karma to pay off. I mean, our actions in one life may lead to some kind of retribution necessary in the next life, and we have to meet up with these same souls again and work things out and bring things back into balance. So it's good that way, and it should help psychologically for those who may need that kind of law brought to their attention.
I think I've read that surveys taken of Americans have found that some 67% of the population believes in reincarnation. I find that astonishing, because it's not one of the tenets of Christianity, nor I think of Judaism. Maybe it's an intuitive recognition on people's part, the sense that there's more to life than this. There's more to life than what we see immediately in front of us, and perhaps a sense that there's a lot of experience behind us. I find that very strengthening, the realization that as bad as certain problems in this life might be for some of us, we can remember that we've probably solved even greater problems and difficulties in the past. It gives you a sense of being a kind of a warrior, a fighter, one who has met many, many challenges that are no longer part of the memory bank, but the awareness of that long past behind us should give us a sense that, as the old bromide is, that God never gives us a burden too great to bear.
And a lot of the problems that we seem to encounter in this life may in fact be brought over from the previous lifetime experience, and that is a way to work things out, to bring things back into balance. We may bring old fears with us, old phobias that crop up later on in this lifetime, and they're there for a reason. They have to be worked out.
We tend to think of the birth of a baby as the beginning of a new life, and I think most of us view an infant as kind of a tabula rasa, a blank slate on which we will engrave all that we hope to instill into that child's character and talents. But in fact, if we accept the doctrine of reincarnation, then the birth of a baby is in fact the return of an individual with a great deal of experience and some accomplishment, probably many mistakes and errors behind it, and that individual is picking up a thread and continuing an unfolding process that was begun long, long ago. So each life that a baby begins is not only a recapitulation of past life experience, but it's an assuming of old obligations, old debts, old responsibilities, recovering old relationships, some happy, some sad, and it's an opportunity for what Alice Bailey calls restitution, putting things right, I suppose. If we thought of our lifetime, whatever it is now, as our opportunity in the present to put things right, I wonder how each of us would interpret that. Using our imagination and our sense of our circumstances, we might gain some insight into why why things are the way they are, why people are the way they are, why the people closest to us are of